start off from zero, you really appreciate absolutely everything. Because living in a Chevy Blazer is a whole lot more than living in Mexico. 2 weeks ago, I went to a friend's party, and this girl was having her birthday party at her house, and her boyfriend had set up the whole thing. He even brought mariachis, brought a whole little DJ booth or whatever, brought strobe lights, everything. I mean, it was like he brought the club to the house. And he's such a great guy. He was even singing to my friend and everything. He was just such an awesome guy. Well, just 1 week ago, I just found out that he was pulled over for who knows what reason at Farmers Branch. And nowadays, you hear on the news about Farmers Branch and putting in their new anti-illegal immigration policies or whatever into place. And what they'll do is they'll deport anybody who just can't prove their legality or their citizenship right there and then. So he got pulled over and he couldn't prove anything, and they deported him. It's not like it's illegal. They're searching for illegal immigrants who are Canadian or Indian or whatever. If they pull over an Indian, they're just gonna think, oh, it's some Indian. He might be like a refugee or something. Of course, it's legal, right? But if they pull over a Mexican, it's a Mexican. In Texas, he has to be illegal.
I just think it's funny that every time somebody meets me, they have to be able to put me in some sort of little preconceived pigeonhole that they have of, okay, this is a Hispanic person, this is a Middle Eastern person, this is obviously not an American person. They don't know how to, it seems like a lot of people don't know how to respond to you or deal with you until they know, oh, okay, well, that's the kind of person that she is. Okay, now I know. I think that I am a very, very patriotic person, and I really appreciate living in this country because I've seen how anyone who is willing to work hard can be successful here. Okay. I feel that because this is such a great country, in general, the American public, they think, okay, our country is the greatest. We have the best standard of living. Our way of life is obviously the best, and I'm not going to argue with that. I think this is a fantastic country, and I'm so grateful to be here. But I think that that mentality tends to make people a little bit unwilling to learn about other ways of life and a little bit less tolerant or and uneducated. It's really sad. I feel like since this is such a great country, we should all be a little bit more educated about what's going on in the world. I remember once an adult asked me where I was from, and I told him where I was from, and I told him I was Muslim, and he goes, okay, but you're not black, you're Muslim? And I think that's just a prime example of how little people really understand Islam.
One of the biggest misconceptions of black people is that we don't know how to speak well. A lot of times when people speak to me, and the first thing is, I hear so well spoken, not you're smart, you're well spoken. So what does that mean? When someone, and there's only a few black African American women in the office that I work in, and this particular time on 2 different occasions, I was asked, do you know where to get good fried chicken? Like, I don't eat fried chicken, but we're the only ones asked.
chicken, watermelon, all kinds of fruit, food that everybody eats. I mean, I don't know why one group of people becomes the connoisseur of a particular food.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's amazing the level of lack of intelligence that a lot of American people have. I asked one lady and I was talking, and I had this Egyptian print because it was Black History Month, like it is now. It's February, and it was Black History Month. And I had this Egyptian print on, and she says, "Oh, that looks like that could be an African style type thing that you're wearing." I said, "It is African style." And she said, "Well, no, that's not." I said, "Egypt is in Africa." I mean, of course, that was just a lack of her knowledge of where regions and people and things are located. So,
It all goes into play.
Yeah.
It's all the ignorance and not venturing out and learning other cultures, other people.
because one thing about it, I'm not getting religious, but God made all kinds of folk. And so it's incumbent upon us to know everybody's history, know everybody's, even all the way down to their family ties, to know where their family, because every family have their inheritance or have their history to tell about where they come from and things that, from the Irish to the Middle Eastern, to the Black African, to the African American, to the Egyptian, to the Spanish, to the French, to everybody. And so yet we're limiting ourselves and our knowledge of people when we don't understand other cultures. I grew up in the 70s, and my dad, who grew up much earlier than I, grew up in the 50s and the 40s and what have you, he talked about how he would walk to school and how the buses filled with white kids would pass him up going to school, and they would throw rocks at him and say, "Nigga, go home," or whatever. And then he would read the books and they'd say, "Nigga, we know you're going to get this book." And so this is pertinent to me because my dad is 72 or 3 now, and he's still living. And he tells me these stories. And not for hatred or for race differences, but rather for education. And so when he tells me, when we hear people talking about terrorism, and they say, "Boy, terrorism has always been here." My dad was terrorized then. They were terrorized in those days. They couldn't walk a certain way. They couldn't go a certain way. They had to be in the house at a certain time of the hour of the night, afraid of being maybe lynched or mobbed. So when they talk about terrorism today, and they say, "Oh boy, Americans terrorized." Well, we've been we as American people have been terrorized.